Anyone else kind of feel like we've just like lost the plot to like life in general? I saw this interview recently with Sam Altman or Altman. He's the CEO of Open AI, and he's talking about how I think someone asked him basically like people are kind of wondering about the future and everything about AI and the fears surrounding it and everything. And the he says something along the lines of like AI will destroy the world, but there will be a couple of good companies out of it. And what's just like really crazy about that is if we are creating our downfall. Like I don't really think that's true, but if this really is a time, where we're like creating something and we're going to potentially, really get worried about where it's going and what's happening, shouldn't we be like, I don't know, more protective about like how we're going to make it, or shouldn't there be more like maybe government oversight or something? I don't know. It just feels crazy. Like, or maybe even like people getting mad at companies. It's hard to really think it's okay that we're just going to, you know, destroy the world, but a couple of guys will be rich, I guess. I mean, what does being wealthy really have anything to do if the world itself is on fire? How many iPhones or yachts can you really buy if there's only a couple of people in the world who can even go on to the yacht? I mean, does it even matter? I was also seeing recently that, like, or at least what my buddies told me, um, recently there's been this case that people just care about money a lot more than we used to. And, I don't know if that's maybe because of, social media. We, like, see what wealth can get people, even if maybe you don't know anyone wealthy yourself. Or if it has something to do with, like, even, like, maybe something like religion or spirituality or something. Whenever people had those kinds of things to focus on, they just didn't think of as much about like the material things, about money. But it kind of ties back to that. Like, do we just care so much about money that we just don't care about each other anymore? I mean, money's great. I mean, we all need money. I'm not saying money sucks or whatever. I'm just saying maybe we value money too much. I mean, if we can't take a second to hold back or make some kind of agreement across the world that we need to chill out. I mean, I guess we've already done this before with like nukes and stuff. There was, I'm forgetting the name of it, the Manhattan Project. There we go. And I'm sure people have seen Oppenheimer. There's this scene in Oppenheimer where they're basically like, if we make this bomb, it might ignite the atmosphere. And surprisingly, they just kind of said, hopefully it doesn't. And it's moments like that which are kind of incredible to think about, both in retrospect and kind of what we're going through right now. Like, it kind of feels like another moment where we're going to have this potential, you know, singularity, I guess, some kind of crazy event where we have just this absolutely crazy thing that just destroys us all. But maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Like, whenever you phrase it like that, it doesn't even sound real. I mean, it's just crazy to even think about. And don't even get me started. I mean, I could go. There's so much, to talk about here, like with AI and everything. But I guess what I'm kind of saying is I feel like we just value money way too much right now. Like, I guess that's really all it comes down to. I mean, if not, I don't know. It's weird. Are there not things in life that we should value more than money, I guess? Like, if... how much should we value money? It's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to it or anything. I'm just kind of shooting some stuff out into the void. Speaking of which, like... it's kind of crazy too how there's this, we're so connected now compared to, basically ever in human history. And yet here I am sitting in my room just like talking to a computer monitor, which is kind of crazy to even say, but it's true, like like a lot of people don't really go out as much as they used to. In fact, I have no way to prove this right now. This is just a guess. I don't even have like a friend told me or anything for this. It's my opinion, but I would assume the average person goes out and has like way less friends than they used to. And I don't know if that's good for us, like we're having I kind of feel like all like social media, like all this stuff like culminates into kind of some crazy times that we're living through right now. A lot of like interesting tests that are going on. We have like no idea if any of this is even, well, I mean, I guess it's always, well, I think yeah, I mean, I think most of this stuff is good. I think maybe the way it is now isn't good, but I think most of the stuff that's being made certainly can be useful. Like even like Facebook, I think something like Facebook could be really helpful for mankind. Just not the way it is right now. I think it's pretty terrible. Same thing with Instagram. I think Instagram's actually also really bad. But like the idea of it sounds really good. You could like meet people and get to know people who do the same thing and everything. Kind of reminds me, I read somewhere that like someone really liked old Facebook where it was like invitation only for colleges. That's like how it started. It was like a college only application. And like, nowadays, kind of going back into the AI thing, with the advent of like, the dead internet theory. Not really the advent, it hasn't been made. But I've been really made aware of the idea that like, who can we trust? What is real, what is not real, and I mean, it's just crazy. Like already the internet was a really spooky place. You could learn, I mean, just about anything. I mean, nowadays that's probably even more so true, for strictly the worse, with how, unregulated some of these large language models are. Thankfully, we haven't seen anyone really abuse it yet, to my knowledge, to a notable degree. But I mean, there are people who are dealing with lots of problems that AI has caused, like AI, what is it, like delusion syndrome or something like that? I don't know. These are just crazy times. I think a lot about something that comes to my mind a lot is like there's this streamer online. He's pretty popular. I believe his name is like XQC. I'm just kidding. I know XQC. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. It's funny. But yeah, anyway, XQC. I used to watch him a lot whenever I was I think I was like, how old was I? Probably like 21-ish, 22. I started talking like him, saying like Twitch emotes, like the whole thing, and it was really interesting because like I felt really connected to like this little subnet of a community. But what was really weird, and what I've been thinking about more recently, is like how strangely lonely being like a streamer is, especially one who's like, I guess, as dedicated to the grind as like XQC is. Maybe this has changed. To my knowledge, it hasn't. But like, he used to be known for streaming like on average, like I think it's like 16 to like 18 hours every day. Might even be like more than that, because he doesn't sleep very well. It's a pretty common known fact. And I mean, whenever someone doesn't do anything but that one thing, I mean, I guess really what's crazy about it, right, is there's like this weird disconnect, because on the one hand you have this guy who's having literally tens to hundreds of thousands of people watching him do something, right? And even though there's that many people watching him, and even if you want to say, some of it or most of it's bots, even if it's like 10 people, right? I mean, this guy, he basically doesn't talk to anyone in real life, or at least he didn't. And that's nothing against XQC, because that's like something that's happening on a wider scale right now. We have people who are living their lives and like doing their thing. And what's wild about it is, even though that's a thing, right? Like that's totally happening. Um, right? Sorry. Like what's crazy about that is that people have like a ridiculous amount of people watching them, like tens of thousands, and they might not even know like 20 people, or like talk to like 20 people like a day. Like there'd be like days where like XQC would do nothing but like react, and some days there wouldn't even be like any orbiters or anything. Orbiters are like people who hang around XQC. So like there's a couple of different people, but people who just join in and kind of like try and farm chat for a little bit, try and get some reactions, entertain the crowd. And like what I'm kind of getting to is, I don't know if it's ever really good for people like humans, I guess, in general, to like not talk or go outside their comfort zone. Not no, just not go out and like talk to anyone. I think I was about like 23 or 24 whenever I started realizing that like virtual communication is just not the same as real life. That comes from a guy who, I had like a lot of issues growing up. I was pretty unconfident, I'd say, and I've grown on my shell a little bit. I'm still not super confident, but I think I'm okay now. But anyway, that's besides the point. What I was getting to is that like I lived most of my life online, and because I did, I lived most of my life online. I didn't get to do as much stuff that like other people may have gotten to do. And what's crazy is that I say things like that, and then I actively avoid like opportunities to change. It's just one of those like human being moments, I guess, where it's like you recognize that you probably should change, but like you don't. It kind of sucks, because I think it's just that it's kind of scary to change. And even though it's like scary to, you know what I mean? It's like I know I should change, but like I don't really want to change, because if I do change, then it might be worse than my current moment, I think, is kind of how I think about it. Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of weird, because like I don't think I think that deeply about it. It's just like I'm scared to try new things, I think. Even though most of the time I've tried new things, I mean, there's a couple of times it's been bad, but like generally speaking, it's been pretty rewarding, pretty great. It's not like I hate meeting new people. In fact, I like love meeting new people. I love getting to like know them more and like trying to understand how they tick. But even so, like I very rarely like do anything social, and part of that is that it's kind of hard to, like, I feel like the only option I really have for like doing something social is basically like, do I want to go to the bar? And it's like I don't really want to do that, because I mean, I feel like getting drunk a lot is not good for my health. But also, it's just like, even if I get drunk, like, it's like not, that's like drunk me is not, the real me. I mean, I don't know if the real me is really ever a thing per se, but like, especially not whenever I'm drunk and around people. Whenever you're around people and you're drunk, you're just gonna act different. I mean, it's not, it has nothing to do with like how, I'm not trying to like put on a face per se, or maybe I am. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to be like a nice person and like talk to people, if I'm at a bar. But especially if I get drunk, I mean, I want to talk and have, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it is totally fine to go to a bar. I don't know. Like once a week, maybe? I don't know. just crazy times. I mean, people used to go to bars for fun. I don't know. Like, why don't I want to go to a bar? Why is that bad? Is it just because? Maybe it's because like, if I think about like history, like if I think about the medieval times, right? It's like, what is it that people in the medieval times could do to like actually have fun? And whenever it's that time, it's like, okay, well, going to a bar is like literally one of the only things you could do. So that makes more sense. But like nowadays, I mean, there's like so many ways to entertain ourselves. Video games, TV shows, YouTube videos, and it's just wild because I don't know. I guess maybe because of that, I feel like I'm not too sure. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I kind of wanted to just throw some thoughts out there. Um, Mainly just how crazy I feel like times are right now at this particular moment in time. I feel like things are just absolutely insane. Maybe I'll look back at stuff like this like 10 years ago or 10 years from now, and I'll think about how not insane it is, but like, I'm only 20, I'm 25, almost 26 years old. And what's wild is that like I can't think of a time that felt crazier. Like COVID was weird cuz like COVID was crazy, but it was almost like not real. Like being inside all day long, and I mean for me that wasn't really that hard to adjust to. For some people I'm sure it was, but like not being able to go outside and like do stuff for me, I mean that was like very easy to do because that was most of my life because I'm just like a internet addict, like shut in. But because of I think because partly because of that, like COVID in general didn't, I mean it just like didn't really feel, I don't really want to say it didn't feel real, but it kind of didn't feel real. It felt kind of like it's like this weird moment in my life, I feel like. I mean that's probably how most people feel like, but I want to say especially me, but that's kind of silly because I can't know how anyone else really feels. But I'll say especially me anyway because it's funny. What's wild to think about too is like it's just crazy to imagine. I don't know. I think the craziest thing, honestly, to me by far is like despite the fact that like it's never been easier for me to meet somebody. Like people in general just don't make as much human connection. It's absolutely, I mean it's like paradoxical. It's crazy. I've gotten to meet so many people online who are great, incredible people, and I've even had the pleasure of like meeting them in person, which is really cool. But that's like, I have realistically probably like tens of thousands of hours of like playing video games and hanging out online, and I've only really gotten to know and or meet, probably less than like 20 people. And that's really crazy because I would think in my 10 to 20,000, probably like 20 to 30,000 hours realistically of like doing stuff online on video games. I mean, I've had to, briefly met through like, like, or like played with, I mean, I would assume at least 50,000 people. I would honestly think probably more than that, but it's hard to know how many people um, I've really played with. And I guess what I'm saying there is that you kind of try and tie things up here. Um, even though things are crazy right now, and even though people are lonelier than ever, or at least I am, maybe I'm just projecting, um, I do feel like things are going to get better from here. I feel like this is like a really crazy time in general, and the good thing about crazy times is that, and bad times, is that they can get better. So I'm personally keeping my glass half full and looking forward to the future. I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, and I actually totally get and understand that. But if we don't think and pretend at the very least, or if we don't act like the future is hopeful, then I mean, really, in a really kind of crazy way to say it, like, why are we still here?